Hi guys, I was tagged in the favorite people tag by Tiffany at the Beach Bum Bookworm. She is a great booktuber. If you have not checked her out, you definitely should. She's awesome. This was created by Gareth at Books, Sons, and Other Magic. And so it's just got favorite things. I am not good at favorite things. I love everything. I love to collect things, and I am just, if I could have rooms in my house that were like, one would be Art Deco. I love Art Deco. One would be shabby chic. Actually, I like farmhouse. I like modern. I like everything. So if I could have rooms in my house, like you go in and each room is just decorated up to the hilt in that style, I would love it. Same with books. I mean, I like all kinds of books. Music, I like all kinds of music. So as you can tell, I'm just going to have a hard time picking favorites. So I'm probably going to list several people or several things on here. So favorite author was number one. And some of my newest ones, Karina Moss, Ellie Alexander, some Elizabeth Spann Craig. I've read her. I really enjoy. Agatha Christie is probably one of my ultimate favorites. I've read a lot of her books. I've got some from the olden days of cozies. Valerie Woolsey was always a favorite one. I always try to keep up on her books. Yeah, so lots of books, lots of people. Favorite comedy actor, comedian, I would say probably Lucille Ball is one of my favorites. Recently I get Sirius XM in my car, and I've been listening to the old time radio station a lot. And I love listening to Jack Benny, and there's been Bob Hope, where they're talking to the soldiers in like World War II and stuff. Just so neat to hear. I mean, it's crazy how some of that stuff is still relevant, even though it's been quite a lot of years. But yeah, I also really like Maya Rudolph she was in Saturday Night Live, and she was in Bridesmaids. There's just something about her that I just like. She just has a face that you just kind of, I smile every time I see her. Favorite dramatic actor, I'm going to say probably my all-time favorite is Cary Grant. I love Cary Grant. I could watch Cary Grant all day. And I love Jimmy Stewart. And more recently, I like Anthony Hopkins and Meryl Streep. I think they're awesome too. Political figure, none. I don't have any favorite political figures, really. I don't want to go into that. I just don't. Number 5, favorite film writer or director, probably Alfred Hitchcock. Yeah, I can't think of a Alfred Hitchcock movie that I don't like. Vertigo's not my favorite. I don't know if it's just the Vertigo stuff itself, but there's some other ones that if you've never watched The Lady Vanishes, you need to watch that one. That is awesome. It came out in 1939, I think. I don't know. That's a great one. And then my favorite all-time Alfred Hitchcock is Rear Window. Favorite musician, singer, so that would be the Beatles and Crowded House. So the Beatles have been my number one since 1986, I think. So I was about 16 years old when I started really getting into the Beatles. And when I got into the Beatles, I got into the Beatles. My whole room was decorated in Beatles stuff. Every book I could buy, everything I could buy, I was obsessed. And this was before the internet and stuff, so it was much harder to find things at that point. You have to go from record store to record store and see what they had. I wish I had bought actually more albums back then. I had CDs were starting to come, so I bought more of the CDs and stuff. And I have some Beatle records, but I don't have all the Beatle records. I do regret that because they're so expensive now. But I have been to Liverpool twice, and that was really awesome. The first time I went was in 1991, and the last time I went was in 2022. And the difference in it was astounding to me. If you know anything about the Beatles, they played in the Cavern Club on Matthew Street. And when we went on 1991, the original Cavern Club is gone. That's been covered over. It was a parking lot, I think, at one point. They've rebuilt one kind of down the street from it a little bit. And we got to go in that, and that was really neat. But it's much more of a tourist thing now than it was back then, and just incredible. And on that trip too, I got to see Paul McCartney in London. I was staying with a friend who actually went over to England to work. And so I got to go there for 2 weeks and just kind of hang out. And she worked and I kind of went out and did stuff on my own. And then I'd never flown before either. That was my big first flight. So anyway, I was listening actually in her room one day, and I was listening to the radio, and they said something about a secret gig by Paul McCartney that's going to be playing in Northwest London. And I mentioned that to her. She wound up calling the Paul McCartney office, figured out where it was. We went there, stood outside. We were just hoping to see him. And he came out with his wife and at Linda at the time. And we got some really great pictures. I'll put some in here if I wasn't going to edit this, but maybe I'll stick some in. But then we were sitting there and they just started screaming, "Queue up, queue up." And I didn't know what that meant, being an American and not being familiar with queue, line up. So get in the line, and for £10, we got to go in and see him play. This is when he was doing his unplugged stuff. And it was incredible. It was just incredible. We were standing right over the stage, right there for £10. I mean, just because I saw him recently in Seattle, and it was not £10. It was not. We got third row. I almost got first row. Just missed it by that much. It was in my cart, and for some reason it glitched, and I could not get it. So yeah, third row, which is the closest I've ever been in the actual concert. We got to go to sound check. That was expensive. So, but it was worth it. I loved it. And then my other one is Crowded House. I loved Crowded House back in the 80s. Just moody, melancholy music, but some of it sounds really upbeat, but when you listen to the lyrics, it's really like, wow, that's deep. So if you haven't listened to Crowded House, do that. They've got all their best, I think. Was it Together Alone too? There's a couple ones you can get that are the very best of Crowded House. There's songs in there you probably hear that you don't realize are actually Crowded House. Neil Finn is the lead singer of Crowded House, and a couple years, well, gosh, it's been like 5 years now. So it's always neat to join. If you're interested in a band in any way, join the Facebook groups, they've got all kinds of groups, mailing lists, all that kind of stuff, because you never know what's going to come out. We got on Twitter, we were following me and one of my friends that I met through the Crowded House thing, Carrie. We noticed they were having a show in Oakland, California. Now, I live in Oregon, and she lives in Portland, and I live about an hour and a half south from her. So we tried to get the tickets for it. Now, I had just been on vacation from work for like 2 weeks. I'm sorry if I'm going off on this. Hope you want these stories. Get to know me. Anyway, so I got off work. I work from 6 in the morning until 4:30 in the afternoon. And I had just been on vacation for 2 weeks, and I got back, was there for like a day, maybe two. And then we get this notification that there's going to be this show, and you could try to win tickets. It was through the radio station down there, and Carrie got picked. So it was 2 tickets, but we had to get ourselves down to Oakland, California, which is quite a drive. And it had to be, I think it must have been on a Thursday, or maybe it was a Wednesday. Anyway, doesn't matter. I got off that night. My husband luckily drove. We had to go up. Carrie does not drive, so we had to go up to Portland to pick her up. My husband, love him to death, drove up there. We picked her up, drove back down to here. So that was 3 hours in the car, going back and forth basically. And then I drove. We got as far as Medford, and I had to get a hotel there because I was so tired at that point. We got a hotel there, and then we drove straight through to Oakland, which, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 hours. I don't know. It was a long time. Got to Oakland. I am not familiar with Oakland. I am a small town girl, but I do my best when I'm trying to drive. I've driven quite a few places, but we made it and got in. And my one goal was to actually meet Neil Finn. And I figured if this was going to happen, this was probably going to be it. I've tried to meet him in a couple other concerts. It just didn't work out. He's really good about going backstage and afterwards going out by the show door and coming out and talking to everybody. The whole band is. But I've just never gotten to do that. So we were there. We got just intimate concert, which was really neat. And then afterwards, we were kind of sitting around. We kind of stuck in this little recording studio and kind of hung out there as long as we could to hopefully see him. And he didn't come out. But Carrie, I don't know what she said. I don't know what she did, but she talked to one of the ladies there that was kind of security, nicest lady. She had us wait. Well, I went out to move the car. She had us wait, and then we got to meet Neil. And I got my picture with him, so I'll put that up here if I can. Just great, just fantastic, man. He was so nice. I didn't know what to say. It's one of those things where you know someone so well because they're a celebrity and you know stuff about them and everything, but then when you're talking to them, and I haven't actually talked to many celebrities, so I don't know what I'm talking about, but you don't know what to say. It's like, what do you say to this person? They don't know they don't know you from anything. And anyway, onto my list. So those are my favorite musicians and singers, long story short. Biggest inspirational person, I think it's Jose Andres. He's the World Kitchen guy. I just think he's incredible. He goes out and to all these places and with this crew of people, and they feed people in these horrible situations, regardless of your opinion on whether these wars should be going on, or which I don't think any war should be going on. I just wish people would just get along, because I just think we're here for such a short amount of time, and just the hate and tragedy of it all, it just bums me out. But the bright side is people that do come up and do the right things and help people and are there for people when they're in their time of need. And I just think that's amazing. And I know they've just recently lost some people over in Gaza, and that was terrible. But they just keep on going. And then also my grandma died. I'm getting choked up now. My grandma died in 2017, and she was 93 years old, and she was just the greatest person you could know. She was kind, she was wonderful, she was blind. She'd been going blind, she had macular degeneration, and she started losing her sight in her 50s. But you would never know that. She lived in Portland. My grandpa died in 1991, so she was by herself for quite a few years. Lived in this big house, took care of herself, did all these things, was part of a blind group, did work for blind groups. She went up to Mount Hood and did, like, they've got those runs that you can take a big slide and go down and stuff. She did all these things with these groups. I think she went up in a hot air balloon. I mean, just an amazing woman, just amazing. And I wish she was still here. I miss her all the time. She was like one of those grandmas that you could just talk to about anything. And anyway, and then also my mom is just fantastic. She is my friend, which, you know, a lot of people can't say. And I'm so grateful for her every day, and I'm getting choked up. But when you've got someone like that in your life and you can really appreciate the fact that you do, it really means the world. Because my mom would do anything for me and I would do anything for her. And she's just been, and it's nice as we're getting old, as I'm getting older, she's getting older, obviously we're all getting older. Knowing my mom as a person and finding, you know, she'll talk to me now about things that maybe she wouldn't have told me in the past. As a child, obviously she wouldn't tell me things in the past, but now as I'm getting older, and, you know, things come out about certain situations or things, and you can appreciate the things that your parents went through when you didn't know. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what they were living. And it's interesting to get that perspective on things, because I think it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in your own little childhood world and how you grew up and what your thoughts were on things, and to hear their perspective is pretty neat. That's it. I don't really have anybody else to tag because this is such a late tag, and I philosophized enough here. Different background. I was just feeling a little lazy. It's in my bed. I just kept putting this off because I'm never ready. I'm never like this is camera ready for me. I am not a flashy girl. So this is it. But yeah, so that's it for me. Tiffany, thank you for tagging me. I do appreciate it. I love the book community so much, and I do appreciate the fact that people watch my videos, the people that I care about on YouTube are watching my videos, and it means a lot to me. So that is it for me, and I will talk to you later. Goodbye.